y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Let It Be the podcast. I'm really excited today because I have a special guest with me. Somebody, if you're from Kansas City, you might already know who she is. But if not, you will after this episode. I have with me Miss Remy. Miss Remy is an artist. She's a mom. You've got a full-time job. You be doing everything, girl. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, but I just want to say thank you so much for joining me here on Let It Be the podcast.
Yeah, I want to say thank you for even extending this offer to me. This was a great opportunity to practice my public speaking skills, but
Girl.
also, of course, be like and very encouraging to other people. But yeah, my name is Remy Wharry. I go by Raw Art. I used to go by R.A.W, but people was like, "What does that mean? How do you pronounce it?" So I'm kind of rebranding myself just to Raw Art. It is my initials, Remy Abigail Wary. So I'm capitalizing off of the fact that my initials spell out a word. But I am a visual artist. Yes, I am a visual artist. I've been painting and drawing for like my entire life, but right now I've been taking my artistry a lot more seriously for the past couple of years. So born and raised in Kansas City and still reside in Kansas City. And so right now I'm just really focusing in on finally listening to God and just going head first into like my passion here.
Yes, we love to
Hmm.
see it. That is literally how like I feel like sometimes like when you have something big, you just gotta just jump and just go
Yeah.
for it and figure it out along the way. How I've been feeling myself, as far as like trying to figure out what it is that I know I'm supposed to do. I'm not let me say not figure it out. Like I know where my passion is, but like being afraid to kind of jump into that. So we
Hmm.
relate to that. That's why I wanted to have you on here. I know a lot of the times like the conversations that I have I try to be as inspirational, but there's creativity comes in so many different ways, and people that are trying to discover their purpose or want to know whatever it is that they want to walk into. It's like, well, I don't look like that, or I'm not speaking. But I'm like, you can do so many different things. You don't have to speak. And so, just
Hmm.
watching you from afar, like we got connected years ago. We'll talk about that. But
Hmm.
watching you soar from afar has been so inspirational to me. I'm like, oh my God, like I have to have this girl a part of Let It Be. So I'm honestly, thank you so much for taking your time out and joining me.
For
Really
sure.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess we can start. Like, how do we know each other? Do you remember all those years ago?
Yeah, so Brie and I go way back, like
It's crazy,
2009, 2008. We used to work at Chuck E. Cheese together.
girl.
Chuck E. Cheese. This was like one of my first jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually hired at like Burger King, and they were like, "Oh, we just got robbed. Can you start tomorrow?" And I was like, "I'm not starting at
Girl,
all."
actually, actually, never mind. I'll find another
Never
job.
mind. Right. So I applied at Chuck E. Cheese and interviewed with your, oh, hold on. This was like, not your auntie,
My sister.
your sister. Yes. So I
Yeah,
interviewed with your sister and had a job there. I thought I was big time. Like, what got me a job? Then toward the end there, I was like, oh my gosh, I got a job.
girl. Girl,
But
that was
yeah.
Chuck E. Cheese was my first job outside. I worked for the city of Kansas City as a
Okay.
teenager, but
Mhm.
Chuck E. Cheese, I got that job in high school and I worked there all through high school.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
started off doing birthday parties. You did birthday parties too,
I did
right?
it all. Birthday parties. I was
Yeah.
in the Chuck E. suit.
Girl, listen,
Yeah.
speaking of the Chuck E. suit, I remember the last day when I was like, you know what? I'm not singing and dancing for y'all no more. I remember I remember I had did a birthday party and they needed somebody to get in the suit.
Mhm.
And after the suit, you're supposed to walk around and see the kids. And this little boy kicked me so hard in my shin, I almost reacted in a Chucky suit. But I had to think, like I'm a big rat right now. Girl, I got out
Right.
that suit and went and I found him and I said, if you ever, I was like, that's when I knew I was like, this is not for me. I was like, if you ever
Right.
kick Chucky again, you will never come back to Chuck E. Cheese ever again. But after that, I was like, you know what? I am not about to go to jail for
Mhm.
punting one of these little children.
Mhm.
But when I tell
Mhm.
you that thing hurt so bad, he kicked the heck out of me,
Yeah, those kids were mean.
girl. So let's see. Did you? I don't know. Did you stay as long as I did? I can't remember.
um, I don't know. I'm trying to remember too. I feel like because it was like my senior year, I ended up
Hmm.
quitting. toward the end of my senior year because I just wanted to, that senioritis. It was like you ready, like you about to get out of high school, about to go to college. I was like, I don't have time for Chuck E. Cheese right now. I'm trying to
Oh
kick
yeah.
it. But that was
Mhm.
like 2010-ish when I ended up
Yeah.
leaving. Hmm.
So leaving Chuck E.
Hmm.
Cheese, going into college, like tell me what that experience was like. Did you weren't doing art, or you would like that was just a hobby for you at that point, right?
Oh yeah, art was definitely just a hobby. A lot of my
Okay.
immediate friends and family knew that I liked to draw, that I liked to do art, but I never thought that doing art would be something that I could like make money off of, that I should like post,
Hmm.
like social media wise. So it was just like a little side hobby that I would do here and there. My main focus was I
Okay.
need to get a degree and like a real job, that's going to make me some
Hmm.
sort of money that I can be guaranteed, like a career. So I went into the field of education initially.
Okay. Okay. So you went to what school did you go to? Do you remember? Do you want to share that? You don't have to.
Like high school or
College.
college. I went to UMKC for my first degree.
UMKC.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Because like you went from being an educator, Chuck E. Cheese, to educator. You a nurse too, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Girl, you got all these hats, okay?
Yeah.
And an artist.
Hmm.
So, what was that pivot like from being in education to
Hmm.
transitioning over to nursing? What inspired that?
I wanted to make more money. Yeah, so I was
Understandable.
right. I was an elementary school teacher for about 4 years. And even just me, I didn't have my daughter at the time, just me, myself trying to pay like all of my bills, my rent and things like that. I was still struggling. I had to pick up like a second job.
Mhm.
And I was like, man, they really don't like, they said it when I got in the program, like, you got to get in it for the passion, for the love. It's not for the money.
Mhm.
And so I saw firsthand that I did struggle financially. Um, of
Yeah.
course, I loved the kids. I loved everything else about teaching, but I was definitely struggling financially, and I felt that there was a lot of like unrealistic expectations, like top down in regards to like
Mhm.
testing and curriculum and things like that. So I was like, I want to pull out, take a break. Felt a little burnt out,
Mhm.
transition to nursing, because I felt like, okay, a lot of people were saying, oh, you'd be a great nurse. You're compassionate. You listen to people. So I was listening to a lot of other opinions about that I would be like a great nurse. So I went into like a nursing program over at Rockhurst across the street from UMKC and finished that program. But all the while, it's like I still knew that something was missing. Like something still just like was not right, you know?
You didn't have that spark.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's so when it comes to education, I have a lot of friends who are
Mhm.
educators, and you're right. Like you have to go into it with a passion, but I feel for the kids now
Mhm.
because though like I think that our generation like we've learned so much and we're undoing so
Mhm.
much, and so I think that our generation like do make great
Mhm.
teachers, but at the same time it's hard to do something to show up if you can't even support yourself
Mhm.
financially. Like I don't care how passionate I am about it. I was literally thinking about this earlier. Like, um, not if you're not where you need to be financially, or if you can't support yourself, then I feel like that drains
Mhm.
you in so many other
Mhm.
areas. Like, cause I know like times, and I've shared on my podcast before. Like I've had to work jobs that were ugly that didn't pay as much. Like I've had seasons where I couldn't afford to go to Whole Foods and shop where how I wanted. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? Like it's survival at this point. I hate that the system that is set up for us
Mhm.
because it's like these are people that are shaping the minds of the future.
Mhm.
You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So it's like if we can't even support ourselves,
Yeah.
how can we show up still and like I don't get it. I really don't get
Yeah.
it. That's honestly that's what scares me about, to be honest, like
Yeah.
motherhood and like bringing another life into it, because you have to think about all of those things. And
Mhm.
so kudos to
Yeah.
you for recognizing like, you know what, like I know I have a place here. It's great, but I have to like
Mhm.
I have to move
Yeah.
forward. So from nursing, are you still into nursing? Is that something that you still do?
Like I
It
would say
is.
it's like a full circle moment. When I got into nursing, I really wanted to do psychiatric nursing because I've always had a passion for like just the emotional, mental wellness of people. I mean, that's what I was doing initially. I was working in a psych hospital, children's psych and adult psych. And then the hours were just really, really hard on me and my daughter. It's as like a single mom. And so I was like, I need something like an 8 hour job, like during the day instead of like the 12-hour overnights I was doing. And full circle moment, I started working at a school as a school nurse.
Wow.
And I was like, why didn't I do this
Before.
before? I love school
Oh
nursing.
my
Yeah. So
gosh.
it's kind of like the best of both worlds. Like I'm always around kids,
I love that.
whether it be Chuck E. Cheese or teaching. So now I'm doing the school nurse thing.
Congrats.
So I started doing full time school nursing, and now I've transitioned to part time school nursing. So I just fill in um, like PRN. So I'm
Hmm.
doing like part time school nursing as well as also psych.
I love that. Shout out to you. I
Hmm.
love how like those things that kind of come
Hmm.
back full circle. Like you didn't think that you would ever do it.
Hmm.
That's honestly how with the podcast for me, because I told you, you know, we talked before about how I
Yeah.
was doing radio, and to be honest, people that work in
Hmm.
radio, it's not what you think. I promise, it is not what you think it is. You know, the
Yeah.
people are not always making and rolling in dough just because you got access to stuff. And so that's how it was for me. I'm like, I can't
Yeah.
live like this, you know. So but to come back
Hmm.
full circle, and this is not necessarily radio, but it still fulfills me in that way of the things that I'm passionate about. I
Yeah.
love that. So let's talk
Hmm.
about your creative journey. You've always like you I feel like creatives, as a creative, you kind of born with it. I feel like even if it's not fully developed or
Hmm.
fully discovered, it's in you from youth. Can you bring me back to your childhood and like talk about like when you discover like I can actually draw? Like do you remember those times?
Hmm. I do remember like early elementary. My favorite class was art. You know how you would go to your specials like art, gym, music. My favorite was always art. I would even ask to go, like we had some downtime in class if I go back to the art room and finish working on my project. So I do remember working on art a lot. I feel like I remember when I started to get pretty good at it. Maybe I was like in third grade or something. I remember bringing some work home, and my mom was like, "Who did this?" And I was like, "Me." And she was like, "What?" Like she was taken aback, like my daughter did that. And so I still have that memory because that's when I started to feel like, oh, maybe I'm pretty good at this. And so I just kind of kept going with it. Any kind of little chance I got, if I was, growing up, we didn't really have all the social media and all that kind
Hmm.
of stuff. So if I wasn't playing outside, I was just doodling in my room.
Hmm. I love
Hmm.
that. Did you take, just out of curiosity, like while you were in college, did you take any art classes or anything to kind of help make you better? Like, how did you get? Did you just are you self taught? Like, is basically what I want to
Hmm.
know.
Yeah, I am self-taught. The only art-related class I took in college, it was an elective. I had a choice of like a bunch of electives, and the one I picked was art history. So I didn't do any art. I just studied art,
Learned it.
which is kind of interesting because I feel like that also helped me to become just a better artist on down the line. Just
Hmm.
studying the greats and studying like the meaning behind work and things like that, and writing think pieces and essays on art as well.
Yeah.
So.
That
Yeah,
I feel
self-taught.
like that's the best way to learn. And I guess even
Hmm.
relating to that, because I went to school, I didn't finish a degree in broadcast. It was a minor, but I dropped it. But I started
Hmm.
studying the people that I admired. Really, that's how I
Hmm.
pay attention. I still do like pay
Hmm.
attention to how they interview, how they ask questions, how they engage. You know, like I feel
Yeah.
like that's for me. That's the best way to learn. Just
Hmm.
through that kind of exposure and experience. So I notice I'm thinking about some of the things that I've watched you do from the ground because you do more than just draw pictures. You got your own business, you got your own
Yes.
paint. But something that
Yeah.
I saw you do that I thought was so dope. I saw you paint a mural. Was it on a school or something in Kansas City? Can you talk to me about that? Like how that came about?
Yeah. So I do quite a few murals.
Okay,
One in particular that you might be talking about,
it
I
was
did paint
blue, I
on
think, if I
the,
can
okay.
remember.
It was probably the one that I did out for a school. It was an
Yeah,
elementary
yeah, yeah.
school. One of the elementary schools that I actually worked at as a school nurse.
Oh wow.
And I feel like I don't know if it's like the humbleness or something, but I don't really go around saying like, oh, I do art, y'all, I do murals. And the principal at the time, she found out that I was an artist, that I did art on the side, and she was like, what? And
Yes.
so yeah, so I did like I worked with her, and like the district paid for it and everything. For me to work throughout the summer completing a mural just to express like the diversity of the school. It's a lot of cultures inside that school.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I just wanted to reflect the school, the district, the growing diversity. So it was pretty cool. And the kids loved seeing themselves on there because I took pictures of
Yes.
just random kids throughout the school building to put it on the front wall.
I love that. I want to answer a question because you just said something. You said you don't
Hmm.
go around telling people that you are an artist.
Hmm.
Can I ask you why?
I would say I never want to be like, what's the word for it? Like overly, I never wanted to come off like super cocky, if that makes sense.
Cocky. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe that's just my temperament, me being
Hmm.
shy for one, and then also never want like I sometimes I get kind of worried about like what other people think and what other people
Hmm.
feel, and I never want to walk around like this is what I do,
What you are.
y'all. Yeah.
I feel like I was just reading something about that. I don't know. I was just reading about that basically, where
Mhm.
like you have something, but you don't want to not like
Mhm.
showboat. I guess I don't know why I feel like a
Yeah.
showboat.
Mhm.
And I relate to that as well because even though I speak, I can talk to people well, I am still very naturally introverted. And even
Mhm.
like at so for work, I tell them like I am Hannah Montana. Like outside of work, I'm Bree Fergie, swear. But while I'm at work,
Yes.
I'm Brianna. But like you, if you Google me,
Mhm.
you ain't gonna find nothing but my LinkedIn. If you Google my
Mhm.
first name, and it's kind of like intentional because I don't know. I just want to separate the two, but it's like I don't want to come off a certain way, and I
Mhm.
don't want you. I
Mhm.
don't really want you in my business either. Like I wanted to
Mhm.
keep it separate. And that
Mhm.
kind of came to I feel like I got exposed a little bit. Coworker kind of was like, I shared something with
Mhm.
her, and she's like, "Well, I looked you up," and I'm just like, "Oh God." Now, so like now I'm being kind of like pushed because of that. Like I'm being pushed out of my comfort zone. It's like God, I don't
Yeah.
want that kind of exposure. But
Mhm.
I heard you say that, and I heard myself in that, which is why I asked. Because when you
Mhm.
think about like your talents and your gifts, like it doesn't have to be you ain't got to be a preacher to be inspiring people. And you know what I'm saying? You don't like art for
Mhm.
I love art. Like quiet as kept, like I
Mhm.
can draw a little bit.
Ooh.
But all things creative, like I'm into like music. I'm into
Oh
so many
yeah.
things that I've always covered and kept a
Mhm.
hush. You know, like, I don't want nobody
Mhm.
to know because I don't want you to see me and I don't want to I don't know. It's kind of like a confidence thing. Like I wanted to
Mhm.
like I don't know. I get what you're saying. But
Mhm.
I want to challenge you because I'm challenging myself. Like God
Mhm.
gave you something, you
Yeah.
know, like and it's and touching people and it's inspiring people around the world. So don't hide that.
Mhm.
That's why He gave it to you. You know,
Right.
He didn't give
Right.
it to you to keep it a secret. I have to remind myself that all the time. Um,
Yeah.
but shout out to you for taking that leap and doing that. There's another one that I saw that I really loved. I think it was like a father and a daughter, maybe,
Mhm.
or was it a father and a daughter?
A
It was on
father
a
and
brick
a
building.
son. Uh-huh.
A son. Okay, yeah, I thought that that was dope. What was the inspiration behind that?
Yeah, so that was like a community beautification project. So then like the
Okay.
urban core in a neighborhood that, high crime, stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? I feel like people that walk by this vacant lot essentially, I want them to see themselves. I want them to feel like
Yes.
feel empowered, have a little bit more confidence, kind of walk by with their head held up high a little bit. And one of the things I feel like the black, there's a heavily black community. I feel like the black community kind of gets a bad rap on black family, black fathers, black fatherhood, that
Mm-hmm.
the fathers aren't involved and things like that. And it's like actually a lot of black men that I know are heavily involved in their kids' life.
Black fathers.
Yeah, whether they're with the wife or the mother of the child or not, they are still heavily
Mm-hmm.
involved. And I wanted to shine some light on that black fathers are involved in whatever capacity. And I really wanted, kids to see strong black fathers and fathers to see themselves too. So just like a beautification thing and for like this urban kind of vacant lot area that's riddled with like a lot of
Yeah.
crime stuff. So yeah.
So did you have? I don't know if you see it as this, but
Mm,
like I think of art as like purpose.
yeah.
Like I think that I just read something in this book called The Artist's Way. Have you ever read this book? I think I got it right here.
It's
It's my I have another friend. She's very creative,
mm-hmm,
and she always talks about this book. It's like a whole like a weekly thing that you're supposed to do.
mm-hmm.
If you haven't, I suggest like take a
Yeah,
look
I
at this.
started it, but I have, of course, with my ADHD stuff, I have not finished it. But I know that I've heard of that
Yeah.
book though. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, so it's called The Artist Way if you're
Yeah.
listening. That's what I just picked up.
Mhm.
But I was reading something and it said creativity is God's gift to us. Using our creativity is our gift back to God.
Mhm.
And that stuck with me
Mhm.
because it's like, God, you gave this to me.
Mhm.
How dare I not use it?
Mhm.
Because that's why, like, you made me, because it makes me think about purpose, right?
Mhm.
Because for some people, they might think that purpose is it has to make them money.
Mhm.
People like think that purpose has to make them famous.
Yeah.
And that's not even it. You walking in your gift, using your creativity, is
Mhm.
gonna allow people in a neighborhood that is neglected,
Yeah.
or they don't. It's kind of discarded. It's like, oh, there's beauty here,
Yeah.
and that's something that you created that because you stepped out and you was like, I saw a need for something.
Mhm.
Let me provide, what my skills and what I can. So
Yeah.
I love that. Um, I guess like discovering, or do you feel like your art? Do you feel like you found like your purpose in this journey, like through your art?
I do. I definitely do. I feel it feels right. Like I was saying before, when I was chasing a lot of different careers, a lot of different degrees, trying to find my place in the world in regards to like
Mm-hmm.
what is my purpose, what I'm supposed to be doing. Like the one thing I kind of sat down and was like, the one thing that's like a motif or something that was just like the same throughout my life was art.
Girl, I don't even know what you just said. You said motif.
Like in like
Sorry, I'm not even gonna lie.
like in literary
Okay, because
work,
I'm like, what that mean?
like that same kind of theme throughout your life, that something
Okay,
that keeps popping
okay, I'm
up.
gonna Google that.
Yeah.
Okay,
I was thinking like literary terms, but yeah, was
yeah,
art, and it's funny. You can even ask some of my friends to this day. They like, girl, we told you, and I'm like, I was
yeah,
not listening, y'all. I thought I needed to be a nurse. I thought I needed to be a teacher, but then I'm like, maybe those were some of the things I need to do to help create or to help kind of build myself to the point that I am now. So within my art, I
mm,
tell stories. I tell I educate through like historic events and things like that. I like painting about that. I do like paint parties and things like that to like promote health and wellness and mental health. So I feel like a lot of those little interests are kind of coming together in my passion for the arts. And now that I'm in it, I feel like this is right. That this is things are lining up for me.
like
Hmm. Yeah.
mm-hmm. And do you ever find yourself? Because for me, I just kind of was having this revelation of how I've bounced
Mhm.
around trying to find my purpose.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, like when I moved to Dallas and I turned that job down at the radio station in
Hmm.
Houston, I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna use this degree that I done slaved for, that I gotta pay these people for,
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me just find something to do.
Hmm.
And I study like PR
Okay.
communications, and so I was trying, like, I went here at this job, and I worked for like a big
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit, and I was like, you know what? I don't really like this. It was really
Mm-hmm.
like I worked for MAD, Mothers Against Drunk
Okay.
Driving, and it was too heavy for me. And I was like, I don't
Yeah.
want to do this every
Yeah.
day. And so then I pivoted to, like, I worked at a startup, and then I worked at this, like, my biggest dream, as big as I thought of
Mm-hmm.
myself of what I could control, was I wanted to work for a Black PR firm. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
do things that were important to like the environment in the
Okay.
city, and like people that look
Yeah.
like us. That was as big as I thought. Like, oh, I'm gonna be this PR specialist, and I'm gonna do that. And I literally
Mm-hmm.
did that, and I was just like, it's not
Mm-hmm.
giving what it was supposed to
Yeah.
get,
Yeah.
And I had to realize, like, well, this is as big as you thought of yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
God is like, big is bigger.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking, like, well, maybe if I get another job, a better
Yeah.
job, a higher paying job, it's like, and then I go and I take a leap, and then I end up doing something else, and it's just like, this still
Yeah.
ain't it.
Mm-hmm.
But that little voice that's inside, like, it's in there,
Mm-hmm.
but you trying to find it
Mm-hmm.
outside of, you're gonna come
Yeah.
back to this eventually. So go ahead
Right.
and waste your time and waste these people's time, because you're still gonna come right back
Yeah.
to it. And that's where I
Mm-hmm.
am
Mm-hmm.
now. So I definitely can relate to trying to discover
Yeah.
that. But I guess something else that I want to know is, when you are on a journey, do you remember times where you felt like, I don't know, like, I'm lost. I don't know what my purpose is. Like, I feel like I can draw, but like you said, like, I didn't think I can make money
Mm-hmm.
off of it, or like times that you wanted to give up, and how did you overcome those moments and trying to discover like the glory that you're
Mm-hmm.
walking in right now?
I
Can
yeah.
you
I
remember
feel
that?
like I would give myself that grace. that, I don't know, when I was in those spaces where it's like, I don't know what I'm doing, I have an interest here, I have an interest there, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And I would sit and definitely pray. I would take the time to journal, talk to people, and I would give myself grace. Like, I don't know what it is, but I know it's something. And I feel like when I was in that kind of space, I took time away from art as well. I know I was in a pretty dark space for a little while there. I just had my daughter, so I would say I had some baby blues, and I didn't do like any art.
Okay.
And whenever I took that away, it I don't know how to describe that. It highlighted it even more. Like when I took it away, it was like
Mhm.
I really want to do some art. And so I felt like whenever I did take the time, like whenever like my daughter would like fall asleep or something like that, and if I made some time to doodle something or draw something real quick, it made me feel so much better. And I was like, I think this is it. So I feel like sitting with that, doing some journaling, doing some prayer, even taking a break from when you feel a little burnt out and things like that. I think that's kind of what helped me kind of understand like maybe this is definitely what I need to be doing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So you mentioned faith. Curious, like have you always been a believer? Like
Hmm.
did you grow up in the church? Like how
Hmm.
that is that it sounds like that's kind of where you find your grounding space. Like
Yeah, like
what's that journey been like for
and I
you?
would tell you, I did not grow up in a church. The only kind of like church was the Kingdom Hall. My grandmother was a Jehovah's
Okay.
Witness, and I went to the
Wow,
Kingdom Hall.
okay. I
Yes,
remember that.
so
I
I
used to
would
go
go
to
to
that.
the Kingdom Hall with her. And my mom was pretty much like a free spirit. She was just like, whatever you want to believe, girl, that's on you. And so I've dabbled with like attending different denominations, different churches from like friends and, different boyfriends and things like that. But I've always been a believer. I've always believed in the power of God, prayer. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so I wouldn't say I have a specific denomination. But yeah, I've definitely have always had that foundation. Hmm.
Okay. That's what I do talk about that as well for me because I went to church as a kid and it brought me back. Like I feel like train up a child in the way that they should go and when they're older they
Hmm.
won't depart from it, right?
Hmm.
And so like being exposed to faith at a young age, I didn't understand it
Yeah.
then. But for me, what brought me back to it was my life choices,
Hmm.
failing, heartbreak, things
Hmm.
like that. Like
Hmm.
that's kind of
Hmm.
what brought me back to discovering like, okay, it's got to be something bigger than me because
Yeah.
I cannot orchestrate my life on my own. You know, like I can't curate my own plans because everything that I've planned for myself it fails.
Hmm.
So it has to be something that's bigger than
Hmm.
me. It has to be something that's guiding me,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
really how I came into it. And then discovering like the gift that was placed inside of me
Hmm.
is because I had to kind of sit and be still and be quiet and take a break and
Hmm.
allow myself to come back to that space.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel for you, like especially like when you are a parent, because like I have so much adoration for moms because
Hmm.
I feel like moms are really superheroes.
Hmm.
Um, because I think like I'm not a mom,
Hmm.
but like a lot of my friends are moms, and then like the my history with my mom, it's like I'm able to see my mom with so much more grace because like as a mom, you're still a person for one, but now you have
Yeah.
a new title
Hmm.
and especially like if you're married then you got to be a wife, you got to be a mom, you got to still find time for yourself
Yeah.
and to fuel that. So how do you balance all of that, right? Even now, like it seems like you have a lot of things that you're doing. How do you balance it?
Um, I take it day by day. I take it day by
Okay.
day. Having a village definitely helps too. My mom helps out a lot. Her dad, even though him and I aren't together, he definitely keeps up his end in regards to, his days with her and things like that. And if it's not his day and I'm like, hey, I got this art event, you got time. If he's free, he's like, oh yeah, bring her over, or I'll come pick her up. So I think having a supportive village really helps out. But a lot of times I bring her along on the ride. I try to make sure that, I still build in time for her in regards to her interests. But I think naturally, since she sees me doing a lot of art, fell into wanting to do a lot of art as well. So she likes coming along to my business meetings, to my paint parties, and when I'm painting a mural, she's like giving me a paintbrush. And so
I love
yeah, so
that.
she loves it. She does. And then I try to be very mindful. That was a goal for myself this year, just to be more mindful of cultivating other kind of areas of interest for her too. I'm like, I don't want her to just, I'm biased. I'm like, I would love for her to love art.
Yeah.
But I signed her up for
Mhm.
basketball. So I've been to like all of her little basketball
Oh,
practices and her games, and she's loving it. So definitely I have to be intentional about prioritizing her interests, her creativity, whether it be the arts or writing or something like that. So it's definitely something that I'm always working on. I can get better at, but
yeah.
yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing, just day by day, figuring it out.
Grace, girl. And then, so one of my, I love that what you just said, exposing her to things, because
Hmm.
I think that that's probably one of my favorite things about this generation of
Yeah.
parents, is because we've learned from our parents and we've learned from our childhood, and maybe things that we wish we didn't experience, or
Hmm.
things that we wish our parents would have done more
Yeah.
of, right? Um, and I love that you have taken her along the ride to expose
Hmm.
her, because I think about, uh like, why am I, like, even though, like, I was, especially as a kid, I was really
Hmm.
shy, and I love basketball, things
Hmm.
like that, but I didn't have confidence, for one,
Hmm.
and I was really shy. But one thing that always came natural to me is
Okay.
speaking. But I started to think back of, like, where did that come
Hmm.
from? But my mom, she was an activist.
Hmm.
I mean, well, I think she worked for the school, like, not worked for the school
Hmm.
district, but she was always involved in some kind of parent meeting, and we was in a newspaper because she would get interviewed all the time. And, like, I remember that as a child, and I'm like, oh, that's where that came
Yeah.
from, being exposed
Yeah.
to that. And not, that's why now it's taking time to really build my confidence. But now I'm gonna say what I got to
Hmm.
say. Okay, like, I'll be quiet and be still, but you still gonna know you're not about to play with me.
Hmm.
So if I got something to say, if I think something
Hmm.
is wrong, I'm gonna say
I
it,
love it.
period. And I got that from being exposed to my mom. Is like, she's an activist now. She has like a organization that she fights for civil suits and justice and things like that,
Yeah.
things that happen in the city. And so, but it's because of that
Hmm.
exposure. So kudos to you, mom. Like, your baby is gonna flourish because of that. Like, no matter, there's seeds that you've been planting
I
in her.
will.
So kudos to you
Well,
for
thank
doing that.
you. Thank you.
Of course, of course. So I would say, you, outside of being a nurse, outside of being a mom, you also launched your own
Hmm.
product. Can you talk to me about that? And it's also Women's History Month. I don't know if you recognize March is Women's History Month,
Yes.
but I want to know the history. Are you the only Black woman on paint? Did I read that somewhere?
Well, I
Paint company, is that what that
I
thing
mean
is?
that I love that title. I would say I'm the only black woman paint company here in Kansas City in the Midwest. There
Really?
is right. There is about three other black acrylic paint companies, but a lot of them are on the East Coast. Um,
Okay.
yeah, New York, and then the other two, I can't think of the city, but it's like more East Coast based. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so, and I've even talked on the phone with one of them, and she was super cool. And we
Really?
were like, yeah, like, instead of, competition kind of thing, let's collab, let's share resources.
Oh,
So it's super
that's how it's
cool.
supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you don't lose none of your shine by shining on somebody else. I wish that
Hmm.
more people, especially in the creative space, thought like that.
Yeah.
Like, so tell me about raw art paint. How did you know that you was like, hey, I want to have my own line of paint, acrylic
Hmm.
paint? Like, tell
Hmm.
me about that. How did that come about?
Yeah, I think about, with me being an artist, it's a very service-based industry. And there's a lot of other service-based industries like, like lash techs and people that do hair, hairstylists and things like that. And a lot of times when they are growing, they end up creating like their own product line. Hairstylists, they'll come up with like their own hair oil, or lash techs will have their own like lash line or something like that. I'm like, why not us as artists kind of have our own little product line to go along with our service? Um, so I started thinking along those lines, and I was like, it'd be dope to have like my own paint. And of course, I'm in the lab trying to like get on Amazon, figure out what polymers and what pigments and solvents I need to buy. And I'm like, I can't mix a bunch of different paints in my basement. And my friends was like, "You
Girl,
gonna
you
blow
better
your
pass out.
right?" They was like, "You gonna blow your house up or pass out or something." Stop. Like, just go to like a paint manufacturer and tell them what you're trying to do, and then just go from there. So that's kind of how it happened. I just reached out to a couple of different paint manufacturers, and they sent samples over. Um, and did a lot of like back and forth with samples, tell them what kind of finish I wanted, like a matte finish, the consistency, what colors I wanted to launch, and did my branding, sent them over like how I wanted the bottle to look, and it just kind of went from there. Did put like my savings into it, and got like a little bit of a small business loan, but that's kind of how it started. I wanted my own product line, something I could probably pass down to my daughter, multiple streams of income kind of thing. So that's kind of what initially started it, that my paint line.
Okay, so sound like from what I hear, you took a leap of faith,
I
is
sure
what that
did.
sounds like,
I sure
and
did.
you invested in yourself, right?
Mhm.
So talk about. I want to know from another creative's perspective, like because it's so risky.
Mhm.
I would say, like, from if you're operating out of a space of your flesh, right? It's
Mhm.
like, well, how am I going to get this? How is this going to return back to me?
Mhm.
Um, Taking that leap or pulling out your savings, because I'm not gonna lie, like when I bought my equipment,
Mhm.
it was this a lot of this stuff was produced out of a season of unemployment. I
Mhm.
had money that I had been saving
Yeah.
for a rainy day, and baby, it was raining over here, but it wasn't. It was raining, but I just like I don't
Yeah.
care. Like before, I remember I'm gonna touch real light on this, but I
Mhm.
dated this guy. He was he was an artist, and
Okay.
we ain't gonna get into it much, but he was an artist, and he didn't have his own place. It sounds crazy,
Uh
right?
huh.
But I just was like, there's nothing that I want. I didn't under. I'm bringing this up because now I kind of see a little
Mhm.
bit
Mhm.
of where he was mentally with that. But it's like there's nothing that I would want in this world
Mhm.
more than like my own place to stay. Like I don't. There's nothing I'm willing to go hungry for because I'm chasing after something. But it's because honestly, I didn't have nothing going on for myself that I was very like passionate about. This like I believe in this thing. I really want to do it, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so when hearing you say that, I can't believe I just mentioned that, but hearing you say that, it kind of is like, dang, like you took a chance. I mean, because I did the same thing later
Yeah.
on down the line. Like,
Mhm.
took a chance. Like, I don't know how this is gonna return to me right now, and it might not restore,
Yeah.
fully because it was like I spent a lot of money
Yeah.
on it, and it hasn't all. I mean, it's come back to me in other ways,
Yeah.
but financially, it was like, girl, I still feel that a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So kudos to you for taking that leap, and what you've created is so beautiful, and I've seen that you've had
Mhm.
events using your paint, and I've seen you in the
Mhm.
news and things. Can you talk to me about some of the events and things and paint parties that you have going
Yeah,
on?
well, since launching, I'm pretty much in like that beginning stage of still trying to build awareness, trying to market, increase my visibility with the brand since I just launched like last summer. So I've been doing a lot of, promo through social media. I've been doing like paint parties with my paint. So I've hosted like just a community paint party where people like purchase tickets through me, and then people have been hitting me up for me to go out to location to host paint parties with them. And of course, I'm using all of my paints. I've started playing around with like prototypes for paint kits. I want to venture off into having like I just, my style is very neo soul, Afrocentric. So I'm wanting to, yes,
Love it.
I'm
Me
wanting to
too.
do like some neo soul, Afrocentric kind of paint kits that people can do in the comfort of their own home if they don't want to come out to like paint parties. So it would have like smaller sample sizes of my paints. And also, of course, still promo, still trying to take any opportunity to talk about it, whether it be, podcasts or like on the news. Newspaper articles and things like that. I'm trying to think what else I've been doing. Did photo shoots. And now I'm in the works of trying to expand with like just
Hmm.
color choices and different size options, package options. So it's like you were saying earlier, like we're a one woman show. So we're
Yes,
trying to do
girl.
everything. I'm just like
Hmm.
one step at a time, girl, one step at a time. But yeah, trying to expand on it as well.
I saw that you went to. Did you go to Atlanta? You went out of town or something for some kind of art event. If I remember seeing, I told you I'll be watching you on social media.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
how was that? What was that
Yeah,
experience
I
like?
went down to the Black Girl Art Show.
Okay.
And it's a traveling art show. They originated from Atlanta, but then they spread out to like other major cities. And I went down to Atlanta with not only my own art, but also my paints. And I would say, like, honestly, I've made a lot of money in regards to selling my art, but not necessarily my paint. And that's one thing with like a growing business, understanding what my market is, what my audience is. The Black Girl Art Show was a lot of customers walking around that just like art. They don't really
Mm-hmm.
paint themselves, but they were looking for just art for their homes. So I was like, okay, if I sign up for something like that again, I really want to like get the vibe of the type of event and see like, okay, is this for crafters, creators, artists, people that like doing DIY stuff, or is this more people that just love art? So I'm trying to find that difference to find my lane in regards to making a profitable kind of decision for signing up for stuff like that.
And I know like your personality is super chill and kind of like I don't want to say
Hmm.
introverted, but you really like chill.
I am.
Yeah,
I
so it's
am.
like so putting yourself out in those spaces, especially traveling
Yeah.
or like stretching. It's funny. I got a word this morning about somebody was just encouraging me because I was telling her that, like I
Hmm.
mentioned earlier, I kind of got exposed at work, and that's like they found out like some of the things that I do, and so
Hmm.
it's like, hey, we want you to be in this
Yeah.
fashion show. We want you to do these things, and I'm like, actually, I don't want to do any of that. Like that's kind of how I
Hmm.
feel like, and so
Yeah.
now I'm learning, like when you talk about using your gifts and being and sharing that creativity that God gave you, it's like I
Hmm.
have to be intentional about what environments I put myself in, even if it's going to
Hmm.
stretch me, even if I'm
Hmm.
uncomfortable, even if I have to
Yeah.
talk to people and then recharge by myself
Hmm.
for like 2 days. Like it just
Yes.
is, it just is what it is, right? Because
Yes.
I feel you. That's I'm in this space right now where it's like, okay, Brianna, like you have this thing. I talk to myself a lot, so it's like, okay, Brianna, get it together.
Hmm.
But it's like you
Hmm.
you have something, and you don't know who's watching. You don't know who's being
Hmm.
inspired by you, even if it's
Yeah.
something so minute. Because, like I told you, like I've been watching you. It's like I've seen you do a thing,
Hmm.
like, and then now things
Yeah.
are evolving. But it really, I think the hardest part is like taking that first step. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
now I've gone through all these things. Nothing fulfills me in this way, but where do I do now? So it's like, well, I'm afraid to
Hmm.
like, because what if I take a step and then I fail or I look crazy in front of
Hmm.
everybody?
Yeah.
And so then it's like, well, now when you get a little buzz or you see like, oh, people are actually paying attention, and you don't know how
Hmm.
impactful that is for them. Because I know for me,
Yeah.
that's what keeps me going forward. Because I think that in this space that I'm in now, people are watching, and I get messages from people that's like, this really helped
Hmm.
me. It's like
Yeah.
I have a job to do ultimately, because like my whole purpose is to like bring people, like I want people to know that God sees them and he loves them and he's created them for something
Hmm.
bigger, to encourage them to grow in their faith and keep going, right? That's like what my whole thing
Hmm.
is, letting go of
Yeah.
control and moving
Hmm.
forward. And so because of that, it's like I can't quit.
Yeah.
I feel like I got a responsibility now. Like I've done too much, and
Yeah.
so it's like,
Uh-huh.
I'm afraid that I might be out here looking crazy, or like
Hmm.
it's still a walk by faith type of thing for me.
It
Even
is.
if it looks polished and beautiful, it's like you just don't know. Like even before
Hmm.
we hit record, I'm like, okay, going back and forth, up and down, and doing all these things, and like probably talking too much. And that's why when
Hmm.
I talk with my hands a lot, because I get like nervous
Hmm.
sometimes. Even still, like I get nervous.
Hmm.
Doing this. But just saying all that to say, like, stretching yourself, putting yourself in
Yes.
those uncomfortable spaces, exposing yourself, investing in yourself. Because, like I said
Hmm.
before, I couldn't understand why he was okay with not having his own place to live, but he was
Hmm.
spending all his money for the studio, and I'm just like, I don't get it. Now, I can't say that I'm necessarily there that I do that, but I definitely might
With the
miss a meal
passion.
if I have to, because I'm
Yeah.
passionate about pouring
Hmm.
into or investing in my gift. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't understand it then. So kudos to you for doing that,
Yeah.
for taking that step out. If you
Hmm.
could if you could say something to somebody that's watching you, maybe somebody who has an idea, something that they want to do, but they don't have the resources, they
Yeah.
don't have the connects or the relationships. If you could tell them something to push
Hmm.
them towards that, what would you say? What would you say to them to kind of make them want to take that leap?
Hmm. I would say kind of what I was telling myself, just do it. I think also having that positive support system, if that's possible, I feel like that helps to push people into that kind of position. Like when I think about like my friends and my significant others and my mom and people that were like, you have a talent, go for it, try it. I think that is what helped me kind of push myself, but also just going for it. I mean, you're not going to have all the answers, all the resources, all the networking. Sometimes you just gotta go for it, get yourself in there, get started. It's gonna be messy, but sometimes that's like the best way to learn. Like, ooh, when I got started, I I spent way too much money on that. Maybe I try to do it differently this time. So it's a learning process. It's not gonna
Trial
be
and error.
pretty. Trial and error. It is not gonna be pretty at all. But I just say just go for it. Because along the way, you're gonna meet people that's gonna help project you into a different kind of pathway, and you'll come across like different grant opportunities. And so it's really just to just take that leap of faith and just do it. Just do it.
And you never know who you'll
Mhm.
connect to, and you'll
Yeah.
never know just by speaking or
Mhm.
sharing something. Other people can see your light regardless of if you understand that or not. Like, people
Yeah.
are drawn to it. People can see it. Like, I saw it in you,
Mhm.
and I'm like, dang. So I've been tapped in for a while, just kind of watching you evolve over time.
Yeah.
But that I agree with you. Just taking that leap of faith, because it is scary, and like I said, you might have to
Mhm.
sacrifice. Uh,
Uh-huh.
you might have to sacrifice your grocery trip or eating
Mhm.
out to like cooking and
Mhm.
meal prepping, because like I definitely have had to do that. But if it's something
Mhm.
that you feel like, well, this feeling won't go away,
Yeah.
it must be something, like I just
Mhm.
got to do it, because that's
Mhm.
that's definitely, I've been there
Mhm.
for myself. Like, okay, well, nothing else is
Mhm.
working for me, so let me
Yeah.
just let me just see what's gonna happen.
Right, and you're right. It's gonna keep coming up. It's gonna keep coming up. I had
Hmm.
like a
And
dream about like a painting, and I was just like, I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna get to it. And God was like, you're gonna see this painting in every little thing that you're doing. I'm taking a shower and I'm seeing like the title of the painting like on the shower bottle, and I'm just like, I see it everywhere. It's like mind numbing.
yes,
Yeah, it's like you
it's
gonna
like
do
a
it. You better
hmm
listen now, or.
it's or it's never gonna go away, because I
Mhm.
feel like when I first started the podcast, and I
Mhm.
was only doing audio because I didn't want people to see me. And then after, like, I had really went through some, like, I went through depression. I was just like,
Mhm.
okay, after like doing this, I felt like I was like warfare, spiritual
Mhm.
warfare. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this no more. I'm gonna do something else. But the podcast would not go away.
Yep.
I would have dreams about it.
Mhm.
I would literally talk to somebody, and they'd be like, "Oh, don't you have, or when the podcast coming back?" I would get random DMs like, "We miss your voice," and I'm
Yeah.
just like, "That was last year. Like, you still remember that?"
Uh-huh.
But it wouldn't go away, and I'm just like, okay, like this has to be something. So
Mhm.
just see.
Mhm.
And so that's why I've tried to be as transparent and as
Mhm.
honest as I can be on my journey with even my ups and downs, my emotions or comparison, because I feel
Mhm.
like a lot of creatives deal with that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you can relate to that comparison aspect of
Mm.
like, well, somebody else that's doing the same thing
Yeah.
that I'm doing, they're a lot further, or they have more exposure or more support.
Mhm.
How do you deal with that, with comparison in the creative
Oh
space?
yeah, we all human. We're gonna compare. We're definitely gonna compare. But I do feel like there's nothing wrong with seeing that person in that same kind of field or space, and they're doing it. They are got awards and honors, and they've got the social media following, all that kind of stuff. We see that, but it's not a bad thing to give them their props, to recognize what they're doing, to be like, you know what, that is dope. If anything, I like to take it as, give myself that space to be like, okay, I'm human. I feel a little jealousy. I feel a little bit of like, man, that could have been me. But then I
Hmm.
take that time to also shift it into motivation and inspiration.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yep.
saying.
Hmm.
Inspiring you.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like I take it and kind of give myself that room to be like, all right, I feel a little bit of a way, but then it's like, you know what, if anything, I'm gonna get back into the drawing board, put my head down and focus on my next thing. Cause it was their time and that's okay. It was for them. And that just means I've heard someone say this before, like, especially like your peers, people that like if they're getting certain kind of like, awards and honors and stuff like that, I feel like that just means like that recognition is kind of in your neighborhood. You might be
Yeah,
next.
it's coming.
It's
Hmm.
coming.
Exactly. I heard somebody else say that too. Like, and I think that there's, like you said, there's nothing wrong with being exposed to
Hmm.
people who are doing it. Because for me, it's like, look at what's possible,
Yeah.
and I'll never get the like I went to Sarah. You know who Sarah Jakes is?
Mhm.
Sarah Jakes Roberts.
Mhm.
Okay, so she had this conference called Woman Evolve. It
Mhm.
was last September, and when I went,
Mhm.
because like I know her testimony. Like I live in Dallas. I don't go to the Potter's House, but I'll go to those events
Mhm.
sometimes. But seeing where when she first had her, I think it was like 2021. It was probably like 3,000 people
Mhm.
at the conference. And last year it was like 40,000
Mhm.
people, and I was I was in awe.
Yeah.
Like I had to pause and take it all in, like looking at all of these women,
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of women in this space from this girl
Mhm.
who, I mean, she grew up in the church, but her life wasn't reflective of that. And so it's like, and I don't have an aspiration to be no preacher or nothing like
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
but just seeing what her yes
Yeah.
and then seeing her journey and how she's elevated so much over
Mhm.
time, and like look at what God did,
Yeah.
like that lit a fire in me,
Yeah.
like, oh my God, if you did it for her,
Mhm.
what would you do with me?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, and another thing is too, like what is for
Mhm.
you, nobody can take that,
Right.
you know.
Right.
If God gave you a dream, if he gave you something that he's gave he's it's a process that you're
Mhm.
gonna have to go through.
Mhm.
It's gonna help strengthen your faith, all the things,
Mhm.
but you keep moving forward. You don't know what God has on the other
Mhm.
side, you know. And if it's in your neighborhood, if people around you are being blessed, you don't have to be
Yeah.
envious of them. You don't have to
Yeah.
hate. You can
Yeah.
support, shine a light if you got an opportunity. You can share your
Mhm.
resources if you can, because I am confident in knowing that what God has
Mhm.
given me, can't nobody do what He gave me
Mhm.
to do. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? And I can't do what He's giving somebody else to
Yeah.
do. You know, and so I feel like that's the space that I'm in right
Mhm.
now. Like trusting my process, because I know that I'm like, because truth be told, like I have a job,
Mhm.
grateful for it, but I don't see myself as an
Mhm.
employee. Like I don't for nobody else. I really, really don't. And I never wanted to, but I felt like I
Yeah.
had to. And now that I've kind of gotten this awakening, like, oh, I don't really have to. But I know that I don't want anything before it's my
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
So it's like what I'm going through right now is really checking
Mhm.
myself to like learn, to build my relationships, to grow in my
Mhm.
faith, to be a good
Mhm.
steward of this space. I know that one day I will look back, like I remember
Yeah.
when, you know, I think that it's most inspiring when you like, okay, for me, I'll say this, like this idea that I had to see it
Mhm.
grow, and now it's
Mhm.
growing, and now it's like, oh, but I'm ready to go. I want to do more, but it's like slow
Mhm.
your roll, baby
Mhm.
girl. You know, like give it time to develop, like
Mhm.
a baby in
Mhm.
the womb. That's ultimately
Oh
what
yeah.
it is. I relate so much.
Same.
So tell me, so tell me about, you just had a sneaker
I
painting
did.
class. You just had a
Um.
sneaker class. Can you tell me how did that go? What was that like? What was that idea
Oh,
like? How
listen.
did that come about?
So it was actually about like 2 or 3 years ago. I like to paint, of course, and I have like other paint friends, and I do know that there's another paint friend of mine, Kenya. She likes to paint as well. She does a lot of like custom courses, and I painted on shoes, but also paint on like bags, purses, clothes, and things like that. And I was like, I wanted to take just that paint and sip idea and not just do a canvas and do it on something else, whether it be a bag or like some clothes or even shoes. And so we had a conversation about a couple of years ago, and life just life. I'm a mom, she's a mom, and we just never really had the chance to get around to it. Because I do know that that kind of idea is just different. It takes a lot of work on the back end in regards to supplies and materials. It's not just like paint and a canvas. We also need a lot more stuff like, the acetone to strip the shininess off the shoe and the tape, and it's a lot more materials. It's a whole
It's the whole
process,
thing.
and it's a
Yeah.
little bit longer than a typical paint sip. So we were like, okay, we're gonna get to it. So, and then I've also seen like other major cities, they have places where people go and customize stuff, customize shoes, like your LA, your Vegas, your Miami. And I'm like, us in Kansas City, we kind of last to do things. I'm like, let's bring this concept here. Let's do something. So it was a mixture of my own passion for customizing things, wanting to bring it to the masses because again, that health and wellness, understanding how good it feels to accomplish something and do something yourself, that DIY kind of feeling. and then also seeing some other places on like the coastal areas doing it. I was like, let's do it. So hopefully it blossoms because after this first one, oh my gosh, we had like an influx of people like in our inbox and comments and shares like we are doing another one. So like okay, we're gonna run it back. So we're pretty excited.
I love that. Literally taking that step because
Mhm.
you never know who is
Mhm.
going to inspire. It really looked like it was such a great turnout too. And I
Yeah, it
think
was.
I know like Kansas City Kansas for one, Kansas City is not the same city that it was when I lived there.
Yeah.
It's completely different. So when people be asking me
Mhm.
about it, like to be honest, I didn't get this version of Kansas
Yeah, it's
City. So
growing. Mhm.
I don't know,
Mhm.
they have, but I think that that's why for people to, and that's why though I live in Dallas, like Kansas City is my home. And it's a
Mhm.
chance I get to highlight something that's going on or
Mhm.
do I'm gonna definitely do it. Like
Yeah.
see what's going on so I can talk about it. But I was gonna say that's why I think it's important to travel to like get outside of your
Mhm.
space,
Mhm.
to be exposed to other
Mhm.
things because you could take that and then bring it back
Yeah,
home.
exactly.
And that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So I wish the best for y'all and like doing more events like that
Mhm.
and just paints. Because I think about even for me, just ideas like when I want to have a girls' night, and there's a lot of like women empowering events. You
Mhm.
can do stuff like that and speaking, and it
Mhm.
don't always have to be a Sunday brunch.
Right,
Like
right.
let's. For me, I'm a creative. Like I like artsy stuff.
Yeah.
I love to be around it and just designing and painting.
Mhm.
Because for me, I picked up. I could draw a little bit. I've always been able to draw,
Yeah.
but started painting
Mhm.
in the pandemic. Is really when I
Mhm.
started. Like I bought me paint and canvases, and I was like some of the art that I had in my room. It was me just doodling it because
Really?
it's so
Yeah.
therapeutic.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
Mhm.
it's so therapeutic, and so there's so many ways that you can take that to like. I think like hosting events at community centers for kids,
Mhm.
teaching them how to paint.
Mhm.
There's another artist in Kansas City. I know him as Duty. I went to college with him. His name
DFA.
is
Yeah.
Beyonce. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I don't call him that. I call him Duty. But I've seen some of the stuff that he's been doing in the
Yeah.
city.
He's awesome.
Um,
Mhm.
yes, yes,
Yep, I did a
yes.
paint and
Were
sip
you
with him. Mhm.
you did?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Yes, creatives
Yep.
collaborating and doing more. I
Mhm.
love that. Kansas City, man, I can see that it's changing. It's because of the people.
Mhm.
Like I love, love, love that. And it's something else that you bringing up Deontay made me think about something that we was all on Twitter.
Yeah.
I feel like Black Twitter is just like it's my favorite place. It's my I go there, I have a good time, we
Right.
laugh, we kiki, whatever. But I saw that when Beyonce released her cover art, literally I got on the internet like an hour later, and you created this whole paint. Like, how did you move that? How did you move that fast, girl? Like,
Listen.
how was you over there? Like,
Listen.
that happened so fast. Like,
Yeah.
she literally like maybe it had to be like what 2 hours.
Yeah.
How long did it
I
take
feel
her to
like a
do that?
little lesson too. I was surprised myself. I was like, as soon as she dropped
Girl,
it and I was listening to the song, I was like, oh, this song is beautiful. This song is beautiful. And I was like, she looks so pretty in the album cover. And I said, I'm about to go paint this right now. So I ran upstairs to like my little paint room, set it up, painted it like super fast. And I was like, look, if this comes out trash, I'm not posting this at all. But I think it was one of those
girl.
things where it's like I just locked in, listened to God, and I was like, you know what? I'm just paint it and we're gonna see. And I'm like trying to do the hot, and I do feel like because it was like just grayscale, and then I didn't have to like
Mhm.
mix and match like her skin tones. It helped me move a lot faster. Yeah.
Faster. Oh, well, that's just that artist in you, girl.
Mhm.
You did a good job. But I think I was the most impressed, not by how good it looked, but how fast you
Yeah.
work. I'm like, nobody's faster. I ain't never seen nothing like that before. That's how you know that it's not just on
Yeah.
you, it's in you, for real,
Mhm.
for
I would
real.
agree.
I love that.
Yes.
So, do you have any more events,
Mhm.
things going on coming up that you have in the works right now
Yeah.
that you can talk about if you want to share?
Just, vending events, end of February, vending type of events. I was like, got like a small business superstar kind of award for my paints. So doing that, also wrapping up, my Nebraska Furniture Mart, kind of feature in the living room space. I have some
Oh
art in
wait,
there.
we didn't even talk
Oh
about that.
yeah.
Let's talk about that. How did you get in Nebraska Furniture Mart? I did see that on
Yeah, they
socials.
hit me up. It was like one of
Really?
their marketing, I don't know her specific title, something in marketing, out in Omaha. She hit me up through
Okay.
email And I was like, is this real? I had to do like a little LinkedIn search. I said, oh no, she really worked for Nebraska Furniture Mart.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
so we, had a little back and forth, and she was like, "Hey, I did ask her. I was like, I have to ask, like, how did you find out about me?" And she was like, "Just my social media presence. Like, she saw like my social. She saw like my name was listed on like a directory for like Kansas City Black artists or something like that. So
Ooh,
yeah, so I definitely encourage anybody that's in the creative field, keep posting your stuff. People are looking. Even if you're
mhm.
not getting the likes
Yeah,
or the people are looking.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, they are
Yeah. So she
absolutely.
hit me up and I was like, yes, I would love to. So had some work up in like that living room display for Black History Month. But yeah, we're closing that out at the end of February and in March. It's my schedule's getting pretty full for March, which is paint parties. Also going down to New Orleans to bring my paint down there for like a arts and crafts trade
Hey,
show. So trying to get it in front of
I love
some
it.
some art stores and things like that. So just always looking for the next thing, doing a bunch of art stuff.
And I see so many great things coming for you. I could feel it. Your
hmm
energy exudes just like grace and gratitude. And I love
hmm
that. So I just want to encourage
hmm
you, like, girl, please do not stop. Like, keep moving forward. Even if you have to take a
Yeah.
rest, don't sell yourself short and don't put yourself in
Okay.
a box. Because there's so many things that you can, like, there's so many things that you've already
hmm
done. So I can just feel like it's so much more coming for you. So even if it don't look like it or feel
hmm
like it all the time, like,
hmm
you got something and people are watching, like, and people are inspired. So I hope you keep going and doing
Thank
that.
you. Same to you. Same to you. hmm
Thank you. Um, so one thing about Let It Be, I didn't put this on our list of
hmm
questions, but we're closing up
Okay.
the interview, and I want to know. So Let It Be has a playlist, and this playlist for me is like it's like a pick me up, like a spirit bank, like something that I listen to that's gonna speak life
hmm
into me. Not about a relationship
hmm
or anything like that, but just like something that makes me feel good. Like I play this playlist when I don't know, when I need to be reminded of like who I am, whose I am, just need to be
Yeah.
encouraged. Can you tell me three songs that you, and it doesn't have to be
hmm
three, but three songs that you listen to when it's just like, you know what? This is gonna just this make
Yeah.
me feel good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add it to the playlist.
Dang. Okay. What
Take your time.
songs have I been listening to that make me feel good? Um.
I mean, it could be gospel. It don't
Uh-huh.
have to be gospel. Just something that's just like, dang. Like for me, like her name, somebody who I've really been listening to lately is Madison Ryan
hmm
Ward. Do you know who she is?
I have a song on her.
I
Yeah.
love her vibe. I went to her concert a couple
Uh-huh.
of months ago. Her energy in person, like she
hmm
is a vibe. I
hmm
love it. Like so, that's somebody that's been really heavy in my
Yeah.
rotation lately.
There was a song I was listening to today, and it was like, it was Anderson Paak with this female singer. It was like, dang, what was her name? Ray something. Oh, I love that song. R.A.W. Yeah, I'm gonna have to
Send it
send
to
it to
me.
you. It was a whole neo soul kind of
Okay.
vibe. I was like, I'm loving this. So that was one that I had it on repeat today. It's it's this little snippet. I love playing it in the car. It's like a little interlude kind of song, but it's when Kanye West did his little gospel thing every hour.
Hmm.
I don't know if you heard of that.
Okay. No, I
Okay.
do. Listen. I remember that Kanye. I low key. I like the album. I
Yes.
did. So I got it in my playlist.
Yeah,
Period.
like that every hour. I'll be like,
Yeah.
yes.
That's girl. That's my hype me up music in the
Okay.
morning. I be cutting up.
Yes.
Like yeah.
That one. I'm trying to think of a third one. Um,
So if you can't think of
okay,
one,
so this one
it's
is definitely listen. It's kind of ratchet. Um,
okay.
Glorilla, yeah, Glow.
Right.
Have you heard that one?
So I'm not gonna lie to you. I haven't listened to the whole song, but I know the
hmm
beat, and the
The
beat
beat
get
gets
me
you
hype.
hype.
I
Uh
haven't.
huh.
It's
Yep,
it's the
it's the
beat.
beat.
No,
It's like, oh,
literally, it's the beat. I,
okay.
yeah, like hype me up. I feel you
Right,
for
right.
sure. I'm probably gonna. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna add that one to the playlist, but I feel you. I feel you. That beat do
No,
it
I
does
get it. And then
something.
it's
I
like,
get
it's
it.
funny now I'm a little bit older. Some of the lyrics for a lot of these like trap, ratchet type songs, I can't do no more. I cannot do.
No. And I'm at the point now, Auntie be
Mhm.
reading the lyrics. Like when I'm listening to songs, I'll be reading the lyrics. Like what you saying?
Yeah.
No, I
Mhm.
feel you. That's why I
Mhm.
had to stop in the morning. Like I go to the gym in the mornings,
Mhm.
and I used to listen to like my gym playlist, but I'm like, I don't want to start my day like this because what you talking about? You know?
Mhm.
So but
Mhm.
I totally get it.
Yeah.
Um, there was one more thing I was gonna ask you. Either way, how can people support you? What you got
Mhm.
going on? Like your art,
Mhm.
your paint. Can anybody order it? Do you ship nationwide?
Mhm.
I'm gonna make sure that I provide all the details and information for Raw Art
Mhm.
Paint. How can people support you?
Yeah, you go to my website, rawartpaint.com. I do ship. Um, I do have like a few of my paint kit prototypes on there. I have some paint on there as well. And you can sign up for my email list. Like I try to do it weekly, sometimes it's every 2 weeks, where I send out little newsletters that have like
Mhm.
different discounts. 'Cause I try to support the people that definitely take the time to sign up for my email list. Because they always say, like say if your Instagram crashes or your Facebook crashes, you have your email list to fall back on. So I
Mhm.
appreciate them for signing up. So I show my appreciation with different discounts and letting them know first about what events I got going on, and things like that. And just creating like a little family with my email list. So if you can go to, my website and sign up for that email list.
And that's rawartpaint.com.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Yeah.
What about social media? Where can people find you on social media? Do you want them to
Uh,
find you on social media?
oh yeah, that's fine. I spend a lot of time on Instagram. I'm trying to venture out into like the LinkedIn, the TikTok, and things like that. So it's Raw Art Paint on Instagram, and then like my kind of personal, but more like my art page is Reabby, so REABBIE. And then like Facebook is Raw Art Acrylic Paint, and what is my TikTok? I think my TikTok is Raw Art Paint too. Oh gosh, so
Searching
I'm
to
gonna have
see.
to
No,
look at that.
okay.
It's too
We'll
much, too many social medias.
Yes, no, girl. That's
Mhm.
why I had to learn. I was like, okay, I'm not about to try to do all things. You can find me.
Mhm.
And first of all, before I get into that, I just want to say thank you so much for taking your time this evening to
Yes.
speak to me, to share your joy, your gift, just your
Mhm.
story with the world. I know that somebody that is listening to this that might be struggling or trying to figure out, how do I walk into my purpose, even if it doesn't pay me right now or whatever,
Mhm.
like have something. And so, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And y'all make sure y'all support what she has going on. She does a lot of cool things in the city. So if you're in Kansas
Mhm.
City, if you're into art, you want a paint party, you oh, that was my computer, my camera. Sorry.
Okay.
If you're in Kansas City, you got a paint party or something that you want to do,
Mhm.
make sure you hit her up at Raw Art Paint. Remy, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I really, really do appreciate it. And thank you all
Thank
for
you.
tuning in and listening to Let It Be the podcast. I hope that you are inspired and encouraged. And I hope that this really just motivates you to keep betting on yourself, keep
Mhm.
walking through your journey, and just trust that everything is going to work out. And whatever
Mhm.
that gift is that's inside of you, that won't leave you alone, it's not going to leave you alone until you at least take a chance at it and see what's going to
Mhm.
happen. So I hope that Remy's story is an inspiration to you. You can make sure you are following Let It Be the podcast on Facebook and Instagram because those are the only two social medias that I can keep up with. Follow us at Let It Be Podcast. That's LETITB Podcast. You can follow me if you want on Instagram, and I kind of got a TikTok, but it's the same as on Instagram. It's Bree Fergie, BREFERGIE. But that's really all I got for y'all today. I hope that you have been enjoying this episode, and stay tuned for another episode of Let It Be the Podcast. Talk to y'all later. Bye.